Hello, everyone, and welcome once again. Today, I am going to talk about, give my review, share my thoughts on the Suicide Squad movie. So, yeah, I'm a bit overdue with this one. But time. I've I've been lucky enough to actually make the weekly reviews, but this doesn't really fall into the weekly category. So just when I have time to do them. So have some time, and I will be sharing my thoughts on the movie, which you know I actually wanted to give it some time, before giving my thoughts and opinions to make sure that a lot of people had already seen the movie, so that I could sort of, go a little bit deeper into it with it, and not having to keep it spoiler free as much. So I originally mentioned that about about a couple of videos ago, uh, 2 3 videos ago, that I actually saw it on Friday. But no, I didn't see it on Friday. I saw it on Saturday with my father, who he's not a genre fan and or comic book fan at all. But so he said he liked it. So that's pretty much a good opinion on it, as well as the one review I saw here in Mexico on the newspaper we usually read was also a very positive review compared to you know a lot of those negative reviews coming out of various critics, in the States. I think some people here in Mexico might have given it a bad review. But when someone who isn't into comic books, who isn't into superheroes or action movies, isn't a fan of that sort of genre stuff, says he likes it. And my dad is very critical. If he doesn't like it, he would tell me I didn't like the movie. Um, he actually enjoyed it, and the fact that the movie sort of takes place in a dark, sort of like night stuff, he usually doesn't really like that. So, for example, the Batman movies, he sort of doesn't. He likes them, but not a lot because of that sort of night, dark, um, you know, environment that those movies usually have. He said he actually enjoyed this one. Uh, that he was able to watch it. So I actually wanted to see the 11 o'clock in the morning show on Saturday. That was my plan, that was my plan. Have breakfast, then, sort of go to the movies around and watch the 11 o'clock show. Uh, we actually saw a 10 a.m. showing. Uh, that was IMAX 3D. So I thought, well, okay. I mean, I was, wanted to see the one that was showing up at around 11:30, somewhere around there. Um, but it was okay, 3D movie, fine. I actually wanted, I actually was thinking, I maybe don't want to see it in 3D. I want to enjoy the movie, sort of, pay attention to it so I could give a good review of it, as in a not as a positive review, but as a good review that I would get every element of the movie, and I thought 3D would be distracting. Uh, and it wasn't very distracting, the 3D. So I did get the whole movie, and I did get all the story points. My main complaint though was because it's in Mexico and it's just the subtitled version. The whole thing that shows up with the bios on the characters was in Spanish. instead of sort of leaving it in English and then having like the subtitles explain it, they actually did a whole thing in Spanish with the design of the text. So like really didn't pay attention to that a lot. It's because it was in Spanish and like I don't care. Um, um, so uh, onto the movie. Okay, so first with the things that I didn't really like. Uh, First off, um, um, I saw Batman v Superman my with one of my brothers, and he said that like the movie was long. The first half was a lot of fluff, a lot of setup, which this movie Suicide Squad also had quite a bit of setup as well. But it was necessary setup because you're introducing characters that not a lot of people know, so you really need to get into that mood of setting up the characters and explaining their backstories and how they relate to the larger universe, how they relate to some heroes. So I really enjoyed I really loved the fact that characters like Deadshot uh, were once again linked to Batman because it's been years, that relationship of Deadshot starting out as a Batman villain has sort of disappeared um, from the comics. It's hardly ever mentioned, but he started back in the 50s as a one-off villain, I believe. Then was brought back in the 70s with the more famous look, and then since he was included in the Suicide Squad comics, that relationship as a bad villain has sort of disappeared. So I love that they brought that back. They of course brought Killer Croc again as a bad villain that Batman stopped Killer Croc. And the one that I really liked was when they brought um, Captain Boomerang into being a Flash villain. The last live version of Captain Boomerang was in the Flash Arrow crossover from not this past season, but the last season, the 2015 2016, no, the 2014 2015 season. Season one of the Flash, season three of Arrow, where they had their first crossover, and they explained that Captain Boomerang was, mercenary. He wasn't really related to a specific hero until, Flash and Arrow fought him. So that the movie actually, from the get-go, says, this is a Flash villain because Flash stopped him, is great because everybody in the comic book world who's into comic books knows that Captain Boomerang is a Flash rogue before he sort of again became an exclusive character for the Suicide Squad comic. So yeah, a lot of setup. That could be a bit of a bother um, to some people. Um, the other part was, like too much exposition on explaining what Task Force X was. First, we had a restaurant scene with Amanda Waller. Then, pretty much that same dialogue was repeated in the Pentagon scene, which was unnecessary. I think they should have written the scene different or done a different edit to that scene. Though that scene also served as a way to introducing June Moon and the Enchantress. So I think that really sort of uh, uh, you know, made it a little bit too exposition heavy at the from the get-go. The other part I didn't really like because I don't think it really added or took anything away from the main plot or from the movie was the whole Joker scenes. They really didn't add anything to the movie, to the plot. It didn't move it forward. Uh, it just seems like you have Harley, you have to have the Joker, and then you got Jared Leto doing the Joker. It was sort of like a thing to just sort of give it more scenes than just having it be the origin scenes, which were awesome, but the whole subplot really didn't add much at all. They were sort of building this tension on that part of the story, which paid off at the end, but wasn't really that necessary to the overall plot. Uh, I guess if people felt that the plot was too thin, just taking away the Joker scenes and adding more to the main story would have made it a better movie if that's like the main complaint, because it just took space away from the story. And I know quite a few. I mean, there's like the case of one guy who was trying to sue Warner Brothers because of certain scenes that were cut from the movie that were part of the trailer, which is part of the nature of making movies. Trailers are made out of existing footage even before there is a completed film. So whatever choices the filmmaker makes is out of the hands of the marketing department. And there was a lot of talk about all those cut Joker scenes, but the movie is called Suicide Squad, not Joker and not the Adventures of Joker and Harley. So whatever choices David Ayer made, they were his choices, and he thought but he had made a good movie. But yeah, I mean, that Joker scenes were like a little bit like they really didn't do anything to the film. Um, so on to some of the good stuff. I think the the character the characters. I loved all of them. The chemistry between the actors is great. You could see it there. Margot Robbie as Harley did an extraordinary job, I think. And once again, you know, the standout character is Harley. She was the standout character in the Batman animated series that brought her into the main DC universe, uh, in the comic book world. But again, they're sort of trying to make a controversy that, out of Harley, because she doesn't really represent uh, the image of the character as it is written now in the comics. Um, so I've kind of heard stories about, opinions about sort of like she was like the best part of the movie, but also the worst part of the movie. Another stories about like feminists being angry at the way the character is represented. She's not too feminist. She depends too much on Joker, and I think it's been in the past 5 years that Harley's um, popularity has soared, exponentially from what was maybe 10 years ago. Uh, I think part of it has to do with the current series of, since the New 52 with Jimmy Palmiotti, Amanda Connor series that, the character has exploded quite a bit. And so I think many of the new Harley fans really are pretty much younger women, I think. I could be wrong. Uh, who don't really know the character's history. And, from the animated series to the comics to the point she's at right now. And so they might think that maybe the interpretation was wrong. Uh, that she isn't really how she is in the comics, and she's exactly as she is in the comics from when she started. She's exactly the same, I think, from the animated series. You know, of what I mean, I'm not really from the animated series, which I remember seeing, and how the character has evolved. Uh, I think um, it just this is very early on, and at the same time, that she's a complicated character. So, and that complexity is really seen in that movie. So, really, that's why I think she still stands out, just being very complicated. I mean, my dad, like I said, saw the movie with me, and he's seen the Batman movies, and probably he saw the old Batman TV show, I guess. Maybe, I'm not sure. But he's seen the Batman movies, and all of them with the Joker. And no, he asked me about Harley. He also asked me about the El Diablo, which again, all of these characters have very complex backstories. Some more than others. I mean, obviously Captain Boomerang has a very probably the least complicated character in the movie. Which is a thief. That's all you need to know. No traumas that we know of. Uh, and so, Captain Boomerang really served as a bit of a comic relief, same as Harley as a character. Again, sort of served as a bit of a comic relief. But really, I think when you think about like who are the leads, really you really have Will Smith's Deadshot, Harley, and um, Amanda Waller. They were like the ones that actually sort of had a musical theme to introduce them into the movie, which I thought that was very cool as well. As for the story, okay, so part of the plot is really based on issue 14 of this series, where the true origin of Enchantress was revealed. So part of the story was taken from um, this series after issue 14 specifically, and I know because I did my research, and it's commented in the letter page of this issue. Um, and I guess you could say it's a very straightforward plot, except I think some people might think that it was kind of off, that the actual mission was rescuing Amanda Waller and not actually saving uh, um, Midway City from whatever the Enchantress was doing. Um, it does seem that way, but it really falls more into the character of Amanda Waller. That would be something Amanda Waller would do. You saw in the movie that sort of person that she was, and when she killed those agents, when they were when she was being rescued, um, it makes sense. I mean, they saw way too much. She was afraid they would talk. Saving Midway City from that would we know particular would expose her as her mistake of thinking she controlled the enchantress, uh, and would bring up questions. Two, if she sent out the Suicide Squad Task Force X to actually do the saving, uh, you know, okay, yeah, sure, the villains would get caught and they would be blamed for it. But, the higher ups, the brass would probably shut her down really fast. Maybe some inquiries by the government would sort of come up. And so, whatever Amanda Waller was building with her little task force X would probably end. So, she'd rather have Midway City get burned and, save her own uh, ass from anything and try to be faultless, have no fault in the uh, in the in the whole incident, which kind of also served as a way to show the villains. And I think, and I mean, this puts Amanda Waller in that sort of same moral uh, situation as the villains that from Task Force X, but when they actually decide to actually stop the whole thing, uh, they actually elevated those guys from being as being criminals. I mean, they made them be above Waller. I mean, Waller was looking out for herself, and most of these villains usually do, especially like Captain Boomerang. He rather be free than play a hero. But they all decide to go and actually end the whole threat. So even though the bad guys, uh, they're a little bit better than Waller, a little bit more human than Waller, even though they're killers and psychos. Um, there is a sense of honor, I guess. You know, I mean, of course, they would expect that maybe that would help them, get them, get jail free card, you know, because got a prison, but to reduce their sentences. But uh, I mean, but they still did it, and they made a choice, and El Diallo, he made the ultimate sacrifice, and Harley really was the one who ended up saving the day by finding a way to get closer to the enchantress and her threat. So you know it really is a good movie, but it does have its good points and does have its bad points. Like I mentioned, uh, very entertaining movie, very well done. Uh, the effects are great. Um, and it was what I expected it to be actually. You have a bunch of villains, playing heroes. You expect some fun, chaotic time, and that's what I expected. Some nonsense. That's what I expected. Nonsense, sort of a crazy adventure, and personally, that's what I got. That's what I expected. I didn't expect, Shakespeare or some artsy movie. I just expected to have a good, fun time with this movie. So I don't have anything else to say about the movie. So agree with me, disagree with me. Show your thoughts in the comment section below. Um, but please keep it clean. No coarse language, because if people don't agree with me and they're throwing insults, then you have, I think, you're not very educated and have no real argument to defend your point of view. So just keep it clean. Share your thoughts. If you came by this video and you liked it, check out my other videos and please subscribe. So until next time, keep smiling.